So yesterday we looked at the rupa. Another way to see rupa is what he mentions in Kajjaniya Sutta. That's a very easy way to practice than looking at Maharahulavada Sutta, because it exactly gives you what you need to do in relation to rupa. So he says rupati iti rupa. What it means is can get afflicted, pained, or you need to do something about this rupa. So, and what you need to do, you need to protect from sun, protect from rain, protect from wind, protect from cold, protect from hunger, protect from thirst, like that. So it's the best way to meditate, if I use that word. Actually, you're supposed to develop the mind to see that it is afflicted, it's pained. So it's always pained. You might fall and break any bones or anything all the time. So it's always having one or the other problem, including hunger, thirst, etc. So basically, we need to see that rupa means that which causes an affliction or a pain or a discomfort, and hence known as rupa. Having understood rupa, this is a continuous exercise. So let me tell you what I do. Maybe you should think of doing the same way. Either you bring it into five dhatus whenever you see a person, or make it as an affliction, meaning you have to see that person. There is no other way. You can't help it because you have to see, you have to hear, you have to taste, you have to touch, you have to smell. Nothing that I can do, right? So basically, I have to see that rupa, I have to hear from that rupa, I have to go near, shake hand, do whatever, touch. And if I'm married or have a girlfriend, tasting also happens. Smell, irrespective married or not married, that smell comes of that rupa. Good smell, bad smell, ugly smell, whatever it is, it comes. So that means I know I will always be afflicted, pained. There's no way I can escape this pain. So I need to consider this body and any other body as an affliction, a dart, a pain, an abscess. And that's the best way of working out. Okay. So then what happens is I have worked out on Atita, Anagata, Pachuppanna, the three states. Then Ajhatta, Bahita, internal, external. Olarika, Sukuma, gross and subtle. Hina, Panita, Hina, inferior, Panita, superior. Dure, Santike, far or near. All of them is just this. So in that way, Nitam Mama, this is not mine. Ne na aham. This is mindness is not there. That is me. Ne so aham asmi. Ne se ne na eso me atta. This is not a self view. That's this body is a self. And that should be the practice. Okay. This is applicable for those who have crossed Sotapanna. If they have not crossed Sotapanna, then they should go back to 25.1 and practice as per that. Simple. Now that having done Rupa, let's not keep on gathering on it, let's go into Vedana. Okay. Now, when I come to Vedana, there are 6 into 3, 18 Vedanas. 6 senses, 3 types of Vedana, totaling 18. So, what Buddha says is manopavichara. Each one of them, these feed into the mind and make it a manopavichara. Mano means mind, or you remember the mind, what I said, mana ayatana. Vichara is thinking, upavichara is keeping it near and keep on thinking, right? So when it comes to the Vedana, the feeling is not sensation at all, no sensations. So if I've done my Goenkaji technique, I have to keep that away and look at only Vedana. These 18 types. So I'll get Somanasa, Domanasa, and Upekha. Somanasa gives me Raga. The Raga gets developed. Domanasa gives me Dvesha or Dosa in Pali. And Upekha gives me Moha. Or in other words, Sukha, Dukha, Adukha, Asukha gives me Raga, Dvesha, Moha. That means my working should be devoid of Raga, Dvesha, Moha, which means I should not feel anything. That's the meaning of it. No feeling, no emotional tone. So when I say I'm feeling, it's an emotional tone. So basically, I am devoid of any emotional tone, not having any emotional tone. What does that mean? We are finished with our retreat here. There are many people, they got something, some people didn't get anything, or there were a lot of chaos, confusion, some discussions, some talks, etc., etc. Now, is that required? Yeah, fine, absolutely fine. Each is their own master, so they have to have self-discipline. What if somebody doesn't have a self-discipline? It creates Vedana in any one of the senses. The moment it happens, it passes down to the mano, the manopavichara. It starts proliferating in the mind. So some people might not feel happy, while some people might feel happy. The same word, the same sentences, and the same motive makes one feel not happy with it, another one happy with it. And hence it is called as an emotional tone, because what gives happiness to one might not give the same amount of happiness to the other person. It doesn't work that way because it has an emotional tone. So what happens to one who is having dukkha vedana? They will have dvesha. What will happen to one who is having sukha vedana? They will have raga. And what if the person is non-reactive? He has moha. He or she has moha. Why? They're not able to see the emotional tone. Some people just ignore. Ignorance is ignorance, avijja. And hence the emotional tone of neutrality is ignorance, because you will ignore it. And you think, or that person thinks that they have achieved something. No, it's still sheer ignorance, avijja. So the raganushaya, anushaya, is the cause for raga. So raganushaya. Dosa anushaya or dvesha anushaya is the cause for having hatredness. The consciousness already has it. It's not that it has to develop it or know it, it already knows it. So when some tone comes from the other person, that gets exaggerated into that person, and the person might ignore it, push it, which is still an ignorance. So let's say somebody is talking in Marathi to me, and after a few minutes, I don't understand what they're saying. But every moment they add this word vilas. So that makes me feel that they are talking about me. So now that creates curiosity in me about what are they talking. Now, where is Marathi coming from? It's coming from the mind. Mana ayatana. Because that's what it has learned. Now, when it is learned Marathi, it is going to be disturbing to me because I'm not understanding what they're saying. Now, either I have to look at their face perplexed, or I have to understand what they are doing, or I have to tell them, talk to me in language where I can understand. And they continue talking in Marathi. I have two choices to make. One is I feel disturbed, but I don't show the disturbance, or another way of doing it is just ignore whatever they are saying. But the Manopavichara is already having that process of ignoring. So there's a feeling tone which I don't know what it is. So the Atita past, when they have spoken in Marathi, when I meet that person, I guess that this person is fanatic, language fanatic. So he's going to talk to me in Marathi, like many Tamilians do. They become fanatics because they want you to speak in Tamil. So they'll speak in Tamil, which will make you feel embarrassed, or you feel worked up, or you feel whatever you feel. But that feeling only we are talking about. If I see it's just a language, fair. It's just a sound. This Tamil or Malayalam or Marathi or whatever language is just a sound. So how do you use a sound? It's just a sound anyway. So that does it disturb? No. But is that ignorance? And the answer is no. Because I have understood it is just a sound. So there's no ignorance. Should I talk to that person in Marathi or in Malayalam or in Telugu or in whatever language? Yeah, if I know the language, yes, why not? But what if I don't know the language? Just being upik, equanimity is different than ignorance. So the Atita past conditioning is telling me that this person will now talk in Marathi or in Tamil or in something. I remove that sign. So no feeling can be found. If I could do it otherwise, Atita, Anagata, in future, Pachupanna, now, Ajhatta, internal to me, the six ayatanas are internal to me. Bahidda, the six external ayatanas, like Rupa, Saddha, Gandha, like that. Olarika is gross. This is a gross thing. Sukuma, which is in the womb. Hina, inferior. The human six senses are inferior to the devas or to the Brahma or even to the Neva Sanyana Sanyayatana as a superior. This is inferior. In the same way, human senses are far better than the animal and the bird and all this. because they don't have discernment. They don't have viveka. They can't discern what to do and what not to do. They are on the basic instincts, right? So we are also on basic instinct. The amygdala is on basic instinct, but then we have the prefrontal cortex and other things which will allow from basic instinct way to going into human kind of relationships than just the basic relationship. Okay. So hina panita. Now, I can be in hina because my field of view is amygdala or the cerebellum, wherein everything is basic. So, what is basic? Basic is survival instinct, and that's it. That's a very basic. I need to survive. I will do anything to survive. That's a basic instinct. I might have done my double PhD, but still I'm basic. It doesn't matter. I might be anyone, but I'm basic. The threat model works for me. So when I feel threatened, it just goes on to the amygdala for survival. So then the question I need to ask is, am I in fear? Yes, absolutely. Am I in anxiety? Yes, exactly. I'm in the most anxious individual. So if I'm in my anxious individuality, the Vedana is going to be a basic instincts only. That means survival is the question mark for me. So I always react than act because that's my basic thing. I might have done double graduation in Buddha Dhamma. Doesn't matter. Sir, I have written 3,000 books. Yeah, you can write another 30,000 books on top of 3,000. What has gone inside is nothing. Because my mind is, or my brain basically, is a basic functional brain. Most likely, after writing 33,000 books on Buddha Dhamma, I will land up in a lizard or a snake or some existence. After writing 33,000 books. Okay, that doesn't matter. How many books I have written doesn't matter. How do I learn Pali or Nepali or Pipali is not going to matter. None of that matter. Or how many retreats I've done of Goenka technique and how many in Ajahn's technique and how many in this technique, that technique. This is, if somebody is smart, he should say to that person like me, hey, bugger, listen, I've never seen an idiot like you. Because it doesn't matter. Yours is a basic instinct. You did it because of insecurity. And that's it. So you mean to say I won't be born as a human? Most likely not. But I didn't do anything. Yes, that's a problem. That's precisely the problem that why you will go into the lower realms. But I've written books on how to be a sotapanna. It's bullshit, man. You might have written beautiful books on sotapanna, but do you know, are you sotapanna? Now that person has stumped me. I have no idea. But the books are very good to read. It has got some beautiful awards from US also. And I'm making huge amount of money. But what will you do with that money? I don't know, but I'm making money. Fair. Very fair. Enjoy this ride. And after this ride, you will never be reborn as a human. Because the problem is you have a basic brain. Now, another way to check. Anyway, we have Dr. M. Wag, so we can also look at some other doctors. And Niru is there anyway, so psychology, psychotherapy. Okay, so now let's take from a different angle this Vedana. What is your feeling tone all the time? Check that. If the feeling tone is threat, it's a threat model, most likely you are always having doubts. Simple. Now, if you have a doubt, then you can't be a Sotapanna anyway. Sir, I've written 50,000 books on how to be a Sotapanna. Sir, you write another 500,000 more. It's good. But you still have that fear. So can you move from sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system? Even though it is involuntary, you can't voluntarily move across. You have to change the condition. So can you rewire your brain, the neurons which are firing, to not to fire in the same place so that it can skip? Yes. If I learn the art of doing it, I can definitely come out of it. Because the fear is an emotional tone. Just like courage is an emotional tone, fear is a negative tone, courage is a positive tone. Confidence is a positive tone, lacking confidence is a negative tone. And in Dhamma, you require confidence. You also require one pointed ekagrata to achieve the goal. It's just like somebody dreamt to be a scientist and was on it, and he will become a scientist. In the same way, I need to have a complete clarity on what I want to achieve. And I draw a map on how to reach there. It's my map. Fair. So what am I doing? I'm changing the network from this network to a different network. I'm creating a new neural pathway which will disassociate from the current network because I am parallelly creating another network. Now, what does that mean? You have one path, and that path will take you down. I know it because that is conditioned path. Conditioned to go into the lower realm because the mind is settling down in the lower realm. So what do? The Atita is coming in between here. So can I skip that Atita, past memories? Yes, I can do it. Absolutely possible. In this life, I can change the past workings, Atita. Should I worry about the future? No, nothing. Not at all. Should I think about the future then? No, not at all. No thinking of the future. Pull the mind towards breath so that it doesn't go into the future. And should I have to think on the present? Not at all. So what did I do? I cut the past, I cut the future, I cut the present. But they say living in the present, living in the now. You forget those books for time being. Just do this. Don't have any conceptualization of past, present, future. So then what happens? Then mind is one thing and the brain is another thing. So there is this mind which will rewire the neurons or the neural network in the brain to create new neural pathway. So basically, I would have gone this road all the time, and now I am creating a small path. Sometime I go here, then I notice the danger and I come back here. Again, I go here, then again, I come here. Keep on going there. After a few rounds, I create like a village road. Village road in the sense, a small path with a lot of shrubs and so many things are there, which I need to clear off. But at present, I can just barely walk across. The network is still not stable. So the default mode network, which is what is called as in neuroscience, and that network can be modified. So the feeling what was coming in this network will not come in this network. So how did Buddha do? He didn't know the neuroscience language. He knew the language of vitakka. Vitakka means deliberation. So he created two deliberation, one which will take it to the path of bondage, another one which takes to the path of liberation. So he parked it like that. Oh, this one is kama. This one is himsa. And this one is vyapada, ill will. Only these three things are coming, as I could see. So the network which I'm carrying is related to kama, vyapada, vihimsa. And the new network what I need to create by putting virya, energy, is nekhamma, pulling the senses out, abhyapada, non-ill will, and avihimsa, non-violent. So I put it into these three categories here, which will take me to samsara, and these three taking me to the nibbana. Right? So then it's a very good thing for me. These three and these three. So I have dveda vitakka, two kinds of deliberation. One which takes me to the lower existences, and one which takes me to liberation through higher existence. Can I rewire my network? Yes, absolutely. Everyone has free will to rewire their network. They don't have to be in default. Default is a conditioned one, which is, I have only conditioned it. So most probably, I am going to see sights which might like, might not like, and neutral. Hearing might like and might not like, and neutral. Taste might like and might not like, and neutral. Touch might like and might not like, and neutral. So now I see there are 16 to 3, 18 kind of emotional connection, which are just emotional. They have no essence. Absolutely has no essence. So then can I modify this feeling tone? Yeah. But for that, there is something that needs to be there. And that is perception, sanya. Without perception, the feeling tone cannot be changed. So if I change the perception, can I then change the feeling tone? Bingo, yes, you can. Wow, how can that be possible? I brought wheat bix into India. Thanks to Bobby and Shaniel, who hit upon my head to change from idli dosa version to wheat bix. So to prove myself that I can eat wheat bix in my life, and I had one wheat bix without milk or whatever, and that made Shaniel laugh, burst into laughter and asking me, "Are you sure you want to eat wheat bix without any problem?" I said, "Yes." So next day the toilet came, and that was my problem, constipating. And then from then onwards, I'm married to wheat bix. Then I brought this wheat bix into Bangalore, and my wife and son were not that convinced about this wheat bix, but then they started eating wheat bix. Now our home is an Aussie family. Aussies eat wheat bix, and so does Vilas and family. So now we are more Aussie than Indians. Basically, we put the same thing what they were putting, except for some things what they're to put on top of it, and which I don't get it here. Or I might have to pay 4 times the price to get what they were eating in Brisbane. But when I open that seal with Bix, am I not an Aussie? Because Aussie kids are on wheat Bix. So are you, is the question asked there. But are you a kid? It's for Aussie kids. Now still I feel, yes, a very nice one. And maybe I will, instead of saying Australia, I say Australia. Because I'm an Aussie person now. Now, this kind of stupid thinking is where the neurons are misfiring. Because that's going under the Kama Chanda. Now the prudence comes and says that, Vilas, you are eating wheat bix as Aussie, or you are eating wheat bix for health. Yeah, it is wheat bix, means wheat flakes, means wheat. That's it. Can you make wheat bix at home? Yeah, why not? Make wheat flakes and join them and becomes wheat bix. Bix is biscuit. So then you call whatever you want. I'll call them as desi wheat bix. Fair. You call whatever instead of Aussie. We grew on wheat. Fair. Now what does that do? It changed the perception. From an Aussie person, it changed into an Indian by putting desi. Like people go and buy food packets which shows organic because the cover says so. Have they really seen what is organic? Have they grown it themselves to call it as organic? Or are they going by the label which says organic? And 100% of the time, we are buying it because it says organic. That's a perception. If it is organic, are you feeling happy about it? Yes. Like Veena and Mrityunjay go somewhere and they buy the organic thing and bring it to my house and say, we have brought organic. But the cover says so. And if I remove the cover and throw it off, where is organic there? And once it goes inside my mouth, it's anyway organic when it comes down. Any which way, it's organic. Even if a plastic was there, that also will come down. It's organic plastic now. Clear? So if I can change this perception that I know no matter what I eat as wheat bix or that bix or organic or non-organic or whatever it is. And what is organic, by the way? In chemistry, organic means which has carbon. That's it. Which can be brought down to a carbon state is organic. And what is inorganic chemistry? That which cannot be brought into carbon. How stupid is that? It's actually chemicals. Every food is a chemical. So if they put there no chemicals, then the food itself is chemical. Then what are you talking about? A protein which is extracted by mitochondria requires a chemical. It attaches to the cell membrane and it transmits information that there is a food molecule here. So basically it's chemical. So that means the whole body is chemistry. What stupid, saying that it is no chemical. What? Who on earth told you? Your whole body is chemical. All the minerals, what you find in the mud, is there in this body. So it is chemical, made out of atoms and molecules. So what are you trying to tell me? That you are not made out of it? My perception is changed. Excellent. Now what's your feeling now? I don't feel anything. Excellent. So where is Sukha now? It's gone. You no longer enjoy, if you are on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology, you will never enjoy or hate. So all of us should know a little bit of physics, how things work is physics. What it is made up of is chemistry. Logic is mathematics. And biology is life. If you know PCMB, I think you're done. Then you can skip the emotional tone forever, because everything has a reason. So it's object oriented, basically. That means you create an object like the phone, and then you know what's the ingredients of that phone, and you can find all the earth elements, water element, fire element, air element in space. What else does it have? Nothing else. So there is an iPhone there, not there. Just like organic in what Mrityunjay brings in, or wheat bix, which Aussie children eat. If you open that cover, where the hell is Aussie there? I didn't find Bobby in this 7 months now of eating wheat bix. I did not find one Aussie person while I was eating. I tried my best, Bobby. I don't know how far have you worked it out, but I couldn't find a single Aussie person. I thought I will meet Shane Warne. I couldn't. I thought I will meet Jeff Boycott. That also I did not. At least the GABA stadium. By eating that wheat pix, I get the GABA experience. I didn't even get the Baba experience. Forget the GABA experience. I couldn't get anything. I don't know what shit do you eat by name of wheat pix. But my wife loves it these days, and she says, wheat pix. I just ordered this morning, and tomorrow it will be there at our doorstep. Not the big one, what you bring, but at least the smaller ones are there in India. So we now become Aussie. The only flavor I have not added myself is to speak like an Aussie person. Maybe I should try doing that. And that's the emotional tone as an Aussie. And maybe by this year end, you need to sponsor me to come there. Little bit of Aussie life, and then I think I should be Aussie by then. But otherwise, what's the point? You change the perception, the feeling is gone. So can you rely on that then? No. It's basically on the perception. If the perception is fearful, the feeling is fear. The perception is non-fearing, there's no fear. Like Halloween. You're supposed to fear. And the children feel there is real Halloween there. So when I was in the US, when we were doing these Halloween shows, you're supposed to scare. Nobody asked, why should you scare? Or that's fun then. So when I was in Orlando, Florida, then there is this Disney World. So we'd been to Disney World from the office, and then everyone is in a scary look. You're supposed to give scary look on a Halloween day. It looks stupid to me. Why should you have a scare? Because it is September. So, what do you mean so? It's Halloween day. So, I don't know. And in November, you get another day, very funny day. Can you tell me what's a holiday in October, November timeframe? They celebrate in style. All the US people do it. So maybe people sitting from US should say, and then we'll look at the perception. And there are 3-4 days holidays. Come on, all from US, they should know what holiday is that. Thanksgiving. Yeah, whom are you thanking? So I wanted to run a survey in my office. Whom are you thanking? And everybody said whatever they thanked. And then it's to thank the locals who have given them space. So we went to the memorial, war memorial. And who are the war victims by any chance? It's these poor guys who were staying earlier in America. And who won? The Europeans, obviously. So when I went to Lafayette, it's French. What happened to the, I don't know what people were there. So they are now in Arizona. So thanks. Thank you for giving us the place. Is that true? But it's called Thanksgiving. Okay, now that's a perception. Can you change that perception? Your feeling is gone. So in Pottapada Sutta, Buddha explains how to work out on changing perception. And you just follow what he says. Before long, you are released from the samsara. Because samsara is a perception. If you didn't know that, there's nothing called samsara. It's just a perception. So it's sanya and the feeling, tone, vedana, nirodha, sanya, vedaita, nirodha. Cessation of perception and feeling brings you to anagami or arhat. And that's the end of suffering. Clear on this. So you change perception, your feeling tone is gone. So if I want to stay in Mountain View, California, that's because of the perception. So the deception which is happening in me of being in Bangalore versus Mountain View is that Mountain View is better than Bangalore. Bangalore is one perception. The living standard in Bangalore is one perception as opposed to Mountain View. It's another perception. What if I were to remove the perception of Bangalore and Mountain View totally, just like Whitpix? Then the feeling is gone. All the 18 manopavichara is extinguished at once. And then I'll become like Rahula, ready to grasp what Buddha is talking about, anapanasati. Because I'm able to see this entire fabrication as in sankhara is fabricated. You create a fabrication. So Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, these three things are a misery maker. That's what dukkha is. The perception is deceptive enough to make it a feeling. And hence, I want the sankharas. What if I know the perception itself is fake? Then there's nothing. Like Weet-Bix, you have to add dry fruits. Who says so? Bobby. How come? Because I saw him putting it on his bowl. all kind of dry fruits. But Shenil doesn't put that. And Bobby says it's good, Vilasji, you should eat dry fruit. So made a habit of putting dry fruits, whereas Shenil puts fruits. And I picked up another thing from these two gentlemen. It's not to break that wheat picks. And my wife and son asked me this question: why don't you break that wheat picks? I didn't have an answer. So they crushed the whole wheat picks. I was wanting to tell them, you know what? You're not supposed to break like that. Why? Because Bobby and Shanil didn't do so. So I was thinking, yeah, they're right. They didn't break. These people break. Their perception is to break it. These people' perception is not to break it. And my wife and son don't heat up the milk, whereas they microwave the milk. So I'm so used to microwaving the milk and along with that thing and then make it soft and put so many things, including so many fruits, and it becomes a huge one. But at our home, it looks like a skeleton. We don't put anything, almost nothing. No blueberries, no blackberries, no this one, no that one, no apricots, no any kind of seasonal fruits, no mangoes and nothing. It's just plain milk and wheat picks and some dry fruits and some bananas. Which is better? What Bobby and Shaniel eats is better, or what I eat here is better? It's both our perceptions. And number one, wheat picks itself is a perception because only Aussie will eat them. I'm not an Aussie. It's meant for Aussie kids, not meant for Indians. So what do I do? Remove the perception. So the feeling is gone. Yes, Mita, go ahead.
Sir, in this case specifically, you mean perception is the view that you hold, correct? Or, are you talking about the neuroscience perception process of perceiving something?
I'm talking about neuroscience perspective of perceiving anything at all. Because it is conditioned, it's said to be so. So when we use neuroscience, we need to understand how the information is processed by the brain and then it finds that this is the object based upon what it has been indicated. Like the wheat picks example, what I'm giving is that you've been directed to say that this is wheat picks, just like a small child is taught A equals apple. He has no idea on A nor apple, but by figuratively showing apple, and that represents A, the consciousness now makes A equals apple, like B equals boy, and C equals cat, and D equals dog, like that. So as a child, the person is indoctrinated to understand that this equals this, and hence, when apple is said, it starts with A. So then the language and connotations are combined to make a perceptive vision that what you're seeing here is an apple. So from that day, he loses the perception of not anything being there, but hearing about apple. So now in the neurons, the network is created. When this figure is shown, it's apple. So the basic perception is modified to an apple perception. Hope I answered it, Smita.
And you also mentioned that in Potapada Sutta, you can change the perception. So can you give me from neuroscience perspective, how you can change the perspective, or how this perspective is changed.
How far do you know? How far do you know DMN?
I mean, default mode network. There is a lecture from some, I think on YouTube about how our brain is just trying to be in default mode all the time. Uh, but unfortunately, I'm not a neuroscience student, but I'm very interested in how to change the perception.
The reason why I asked you is if you are from neuroscience background or you have some basic idea about DMN, it helps you in looking at psychedelic and how to change the psyche, how do you change the mind view of the world. So if you can go through these, whatever you said on YouTube or some documentation, and then that would help me to explain from neuroscience perspective how it can be changed. Otherwise, it is going to become difficult for me to explain in a normal layman's language. So if I use all kind of the neurotransmitters and how it functions and how it changes the basic modalities, I think half of these people will run away, or it will be only you and me.
So, okay, I'll talk about my understanding from various sources. Some are YouTube videos, some are like, there was a documentary about what the bleed do we know, where they talk about a little bit but how neurons networks is formed. There's a neural storm that goes on, and then of course they talk about wacky science, and so I'm not going to say that they are authentic, but basically the idea I have got from reading about neuroscience and hearing about it is that in the brain, so let's start from the beginning, right? So let's take a visual source, because we can talk about the physics also. So the way our eyes perceive an object is because photons are being reflected from the surface of that object. Inherently, we cannot see the object. It's the photons that fall on our retina, and then at some point, the photon energy is converted to electrical energy, and then either at the nerve cells of the eyes or at the brain, the electrical signals somehow go in, and in fact the brain creates the inverted object, and then at some point some more processing happens, and then you see the correct object. So what I meant to say is like, and I could be wrong based on my recollection, and then so that is when we perceive that, okay, I am looking at a TV right now, because at some point those electrical signals are converted into a proper picture that our brain can make sense of. And in terms of neuroscience, in terms of default mode network, what I know is that there are two types of networks, like you said, parasympathetic and the default mode network. And our mind loves to be in the default mode network. That's where it's deriving the, how do you say, energy. And it doesn't like to be in parasympathetic mode. I mean, it will try, even if we somehow are able to calm ourselves down, it will try to bring us back to the default mode network, because that's how it kind of gets dominant So there is a struggle in the brain, and the default mode network wants to be as dominant as possible, and it can only be dominant if more and more of our operations are in the default mode context. And regarding the neural storm, what I have understood is that, um, as we practice the same thought, or if we even give energy to that thought by thinking more about it, having that proliferation, that neural circuit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's all I know.
That's fine. I understood what you're saying. I think for the benefit of people. So, thing is like this: you need to understand there's a difference between mind and brain. Everything is not brain which creates the mind. There's nothing which gets created like that. There are some videos in neuroscience which talks about how the mind works vis-a-vis how brain works, but brain controls the mind, sorry, mind controls the brain more than anything else. So basically you're right that there is a default mode network which we have conditioned it, and that's exactly what you need to change, or you can change. That's where your free will comes into existence. You can keep whatever the default, or you can change a new neural pathway. So based upon how things are conditioned, we can uncondition what has been conditioned. So like if you take some psychedelics, like psychedelic drugs like LSD and marijuana, ayahuasca, and so many other things, you can override the information in the default mode network. That means it'll create a new network, or you are going on to a different network. So some people call it as a ride, and then you can get different experiences happening because the perception has changed. So like in the Puttapada Sutta, Buddha explains about how do you change it without taking any drugs. So basically you keep on changing the perception, and as you change the perception, your network changes. It creates a new neural pathway. So that means the way the information was handled earlier is exactly different than what you would be processing now. So you can still have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system working towards it, but the reaction orientedness, which is fight and flight response, which is in the basic brain, or earlier they should call it the limbic brain, but now they have changed those wordings from limbic. But whatever it is, it's the basic functioning where you have survival responses as opposed to looking from a logical way around of the problem. So as long as we are not getting into the left hemisphere of the brain where every information is categorized in a particular fashion, and that's where it becomes fixedness. So anything I see gets fixed, and anything I hear fixed, like that, and then that's where the information is kept in a particular order. That's where the ordered pair of existence come into being, and then life is disorder, actually. So if you know a little bit of physics, then it is entropy which is working as opposed to enthalpy. So this exactly happens the same thing in the brain, that we are tuned for entropy, but we want enthalpy. That means we want a particular state to exist and persist, which doesn't happen. And then we keep on manipulating. We means the mind keeps on manipulating the information, and the brain starts to shuttle around to put it in a proper perspective. So, what we are doing by Buddha Dhamma is to change the perception, because that's where the problem is. And hence, in Pali, it is called Sanya Vedita Nirodha. That means cessation of perception and feeling. And when you do that, you're completely done with the dukkha, the suffering. And the suffering is because of taking what is unreal to be real. All of these are unreal. Like a wife is as unreal as a husband. There's no wife to have a husband in the first place, and there's no husband to have a wife in the first place. But since the neural pathway is created that way, it's part of the default mode network. So then there's real wife experiencing real husband, as opposed to a role of an husband and a wife. It's just a role. There's no husband sitting out there trying to, control the wife, and there's no wife out there to control the husband. And there are no children either. It's a perception. It's a wrong perception. The right perception is that there is people as living beings with whom you need to interact, and that's it. It can come in any flavor. Out of 18 flavors, you can get any flavor, so you don't have to get flared up by 18 flavors. So if I remove the emotional tone from that, and the perception is completely changed. To remove the emotional tone, I need to change the perception. And the entire Dhamma is about how to change the perception from Nitya Sanya to Anitya Sanya. Sanya means perception. Nitya is something being there, fixed, versus Anitya Sanya, where nothing is fixed. It's continuously changing.
So you're absolutely right, sir. This is the most important thing then, is how to change the perception. And I will give you a, non-Buddha Dhamma example. Like, in psychology, they say, well, change the perspective, and then you will, let's say if somebody's insulting you and you're always getting like sad because they're insulting you, but if you change the perspective, if you see that that person is feeling jealous and is insulting you, and then you have changed the perspective to understand that, oh, it's actually a good thing, like, maybe it shows I'm successful, and that's why, and I should see it as me being successful. So, I mean, I don't want to go into psychology, but they say they change your viewpoint or change your perspective, and then your emotional tone towards the same stimuli will change. So, how should we change the perception if we are in Buddha Dhamma? How? Because that seems to be the most important thing that we all should be doing, is changing the perception. And so how, step by step, can I change this perception?
That's exactly we have started, right? So on the Rupa, you're making it into 5 dhatus, so then your perception is changed, right? Or you're just looking at the entire thing as just an affliction. And once you see it's an affliction, your perception is changed. So like in human psychology or in psychic way of seeing things, is that, in fact, psyche is mind. So you change the perception, or if you say perspective, it's nothing but perception. So you change the perception of how you see a person. A person is just 6 senses, nothing else. So the change in perception happens because there is no person. The person is just created because you see it to be like that. And now when I see it as 6 senses, the person is gone and replaced by 6 senses. And when I go deeper into 6 senses, the senses being independent is also gone. There's nothing called an independent senses. They're dependent on the other sense objects. So basically, I've changed one on this side and one on that side. So there's no suffering. And the whole.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I'm just saying the whole of Dhamma is on that. You just see how to see 5 aggregates or 5 dhatus, or the what we can say elements, and that's it. You lose a person.
Got it. Right. So you're saying that as we meditate on these things, at some point,
one second.
Yeah.
ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಈ ಕಡೆದು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಒನ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಆನ್ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಈಗ ನೀರು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇದು ಬರಲ್ಲ. So
basically what I'm understanding is that as we reflect, contemplate, or meditate on, five aggregates, or to see the body as affliction, as a boil, as, burden, or, look at the, senses. At some point, our perspective starts changing, then the perceptions will change, and then that's it, right?
Yes, once the perception is changed, the whole reality is changed because now the feeling tone is something different than what it was earlier.
Makes sense.
And then if your perception is this, like, I'm seeing, at present, I'm not seeing Smita. You're without video. So I create a perception of Smita, even though there is no video, right?
Right.
But where is Smita except for the sound?
Right.
But I still created Smita. So if I stop creating Smita in the mind, then what happens? Then the brain doesn't get overwhelmed with information. So it doesn't go into default mode network. And then I've created a new neural pathway, which will take me from this to this. So my perception is changed. Now I have no idea who is Smita, to be honest. And now I'm eager to know who is this Smita because you're not on video. Now, if you come on video, what does it do to me? Now I can give a face to the name, right? And that's a perception.
Right.
Maybe your voice shows that you are on 30 plus years old, and then when you come on video, you are 70-year-old, and my perception is damaged, right?
Right.
So
no,
yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I have struggled with this because, I understand from the science perspective, photons or sound waves and all those things, but I'm not, and I've reflected on the six senses also. Like, I understand that, I've reflected on dependent origination. I know that I can't control the sound that is falling on my ears, or what I can see, but it hasn't changed my perspective yet or changed the perception. So that's why I was, asking this direct question: how do I change the perception? But
to do that, you need to know you're a sotapanna or not.
I see.
That's the first step. You can't come to the second step without the first step.
Right.
No matter how much I explain this, in the DMN, direct mode network, there is a gateway. Since you're talking neuroscience, let me also fill that up. There is a neurotransmitter by name GABA, GABA. And there's a GABA stadium in Brisbane. I don't know why they put GABA there. Okay. And if I go to GABA stadium, I should get GABA as a chemical or a neurotransmitter. That is a peace transmitter. It radiates peacefulness by directing the network, that means the neurons, to have a synapse, that means firing or connection into that. So basically, it releases GABA. And when that gets released, the brain knows that this route takes me to peace and this route takes me to stress. And then there is another chemical which they are now changing it from Anandamidi to something else. So they're going to rename it. But anyway, it's now, till now, from 2011 onwards, it is known as Anandamidi. So that will get released in higher quantity. And that would ensure that your serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and dopamine don't get shut down. So that means you are always at high in life without any objects being there, and no loneliness can be felt. When that happens, Smita, that you have touched peace completely, which is unconditioned in nature, and that's what is called Nibbana, by the way. There is no neurotransmitter by name Nibbana, but what happens here is that you get so peaced out that you don't require anything. So there's no condition which is making you happy. There's no condition which makes you sad either. Nothing is being felt at all. No Vedana, that means no feeling tone. And because of that, your neurotransmitters now, which are occupied all the time, are something which gives you a real high. And because of this mind associating with that, it's always at peace. When you taste that peace is when you understand that something has opened up, a new neural pathway has opened up, and it starts to create the road. And when the road gets widened, it is Sakadagami stage. And if the thing is totally widened up enough to ensure that you don't have to come to this existence again, it's the neural pathway is totally different. That is Anagami. And when you end the entire thing up, no asavas, no fermented things, anushaya, which is hidden, are coming out. And that means the default mode network is no longer accessed at all. Then you are out of it, which is arhat. So it's all about changing the neurochemicals which appear and looking at reduction of cortisol is the first primary thing. If you reduce cortisol, that means you've cut out anxiety in life. By cutting out anxiety in life, you've cut out fear. By cutting fear, you've cut out insecurity. And when you're out of insecure state, the mind is at rest. So that's the whole process.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. And for those who couldn't understand this neuroscience perspective, I think I'll deal it from Buddha's perspective maybe tomorrow. But what you and I need to know is to change the perception and the feeling is gone. Okay. Any questions? Still have time. Okay. Could you understand? So the basic thing is change perception, feeling is gone. So there's no sankhara. So sabba sankhara samatho becomes samatha. Because you're not changing or you're not aspiring in the feeling. You're changing the perception. The feeling changes. Just like if I change the perception of a wife, then there's no wife. That's it. I don't have to physically divorce the wife, which is stupid actually, because I'm carrying wife in the mind. It's not physical wife. Nobody marries a physical wife. They marry a human being. I don't think so. We never married a wife or husband. We never. We've married a human being, which is another human being, and that's it. We never married a wife or a husband, and we never had children in the first place. What we have is human beings. It's a biological clock, and that's it. Yes, Smita, go ahead.
Sir, sorry, but I had another question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my earlier normal psychology example of insult and change of feeling for the same stimuli, same action wasn't good enough. But let's take this example where I like a person, they are nice to me, so whenever I see them the pleasant feeling arises, right? Because they're nice to me. And next day they did something wrong. So now my perception has changed. They are evil, they are bad people. So now every time I see them, the feeling I'm getting is unpleasant. So that means perception has changed.
Yes.
Correct?
And the feeling will change.
And the feeling will change. So if we track how this perception was changed in my brain, is I expected them to be, let's say, honest people and now I learned in the next interaction, they are not honest. So my perception has changed about them, or viewpoint or perspective. And then, now from pleasant feeling, I keep getting unpleasant feelings. So even in like normal course of your day-to-day interactions, our perceptions can change just from our own sort of like expectations, or um, how do I say? I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it's easy to change our perception, because in this case, in a moment of few seconds, the perception and feeling changed, right? The moment somebody, like if I hold this viewpoint that everybody should be honest in this whole world, and within seconds I spot somebody lying, within seconds now my brain has said, no, I don't like you as a person now. I'm getting unpleasant feelings. So change of perception was very fast in this context. Is that right?
Yes, Smita, it is right. It is always the perception which keeps on changing, and we want the perception not to change. And that's exactly what we do by labeling it. So when you label somebody as bad, it becomes fixed mindset. So now for some time till they are good, back to good, you will keep them in the bad, and then when they become good again, you have to change the perception to good. So you are fighting between the perception. So basically that's what happens. What if you stop perceiving things in that way? Then there's a relief from suffering, because all the time you are labeling it as good and bad and good and bad and good and bad. So sometimes this is good and sometimes that is the same thing is bad. So that's the reason it's very simple. Buddha says change the perception, and that he doesn't go into so much of dynamics to understand it. Six senses can perceive, six senses can feel, six senses will struggle to make things happen, which is sankhara. So you first change the perception by looking at the tone of the feeling, and you can find that it's not worth holding on to it. So then you don't do sankharas to hold on to it. Sankhara means fabricate it, choose it, do something with it, volition it, or whatever you want to call that as. So if something is formed, something is fabricated, it means that it is not real. So all the sankharas are unreal in its own way, because the perception itself is wrong. So I might find example like, I don't know about Smita, but I've stayed with Bobby. I can make him to be a good person today and a bad person tomorrow. It depends on how I experience Bobby or how Bobby experiences me. If Bobby stops experiencing me, then there's no feeling tone. As simple as that. You apply it however you want it.
Got it. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you for the clarification.
Okay, no worries. Yes, Bobby. You had raised hand.
No. Yeah, I think it is a different topic, but connected with that sutta, Maharagula Sutta. In that, Buddha was actually talking, of course, started with the Rupa, and then Sariputta told him to practice Anapana, this one, and then when again he went to Buddha, he told to contemplate on, or taught him about the elements, and then last he come to the Anapana. And in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, this starts with the Anapana. I think you told me once, it is from Anapana, that Kaya Anupasana, that section, that like for people who are like growers, they should start with the symmetry thing and then come back, and then go into Anapana. Is it because Venerable Rahula's mind was a bit more grosser that time? He started with
Absolutely. I don't know whether you understood from his question itself or not. If he was smarter enough, he wouldn't have asked, should I only do Rupa?
Yeah.
But he's very gross, he couldn't understand. So Sariputta gave him an easier thing rather than these 5 khandas, because he was struggling with the 5 khandas as a sotapanna. So he didn't know how to proceed further. So
that means Sariputta was not like intelligent like Buddha to give him the full thing, right? He just said anapana.
Yes.
Practice.
Yes, because
also intelligent in the sense maybe not a good teacher.
Yes, because anapana sati, not the anapana in the satipatthana, anapana sati, the MN 118, is to be done by everyone using MN 117, which is Kayagata Sati Sutta. Kayagata Sati and Anapana Sati goes together. You can't skip one the other. You have to do both of them, because you have to look at your grossness. Let's say I'm having too much of Kamachanda, then I have to do 9 channel ground meditation before I even come into it. So basically, I need to know what I have, right? It's not somebody to tell me, or I straight away take Satipatthana Sutta and get muddled with that. It is, I need to see where my mind lies. That is, when I see a woman or a girl or whatever, or a product like this iPhone, how much attachment do I get? How much of enjoyment I'm getting out of seeing something, hearing something, tasting something, touching something like that. If I can make a note of it on a daily basis, where what is that I'm looking at a woman, what is like I'm looking at a mobile phone or a money or this or that or whatever I have, that gives me a bird's eye view of what I am. And then I come to Kayagata Sati Sutta, because that's the first thing I need to do, is to have Kayagata Sati. Okay, and Kaya, by that matter, is not just the body, it's a collection. And in fact, the English word body itself is a collection. So we can't take a physical body and saying everything is in physical body. That's not the right way. So what I understand then is that how many Kayas are there? There are 2 Kaya, Namakaya, Rupakaya. So I need to understand both of them. It's not only one I need to understand. So then I need to have Kaya Gata Sati, which will explain to me both of them. And then I come to Anapana Sati and do the entire 16 into 2 of them. And then I come into the Satipatthana, because I have already completed Satipatthana in the Anapana Sati Sutta, the 4 Kayanupasana, Vedananupasana, all that. And now this becomes a cakewalk for me, because now I can understand the Dhamma, the teachings. It's not phenomena as improperly misrepresented or misinformed that it is phenomena. It's got nothing to do with phenomena at all. And Chittanupasana is 16 Chittanupasana, and Vedananupasana is Samisa and Niramisa both. It's not just Kaya. So it looks very weird if we just go on the Satipatthana Sutta and try to make our own assessment of it without knowing how to approach it. In fact, Maharahula Sutta gives you a complete walkthrough itself. Like if my mind is of like Rahula, so first I need to know that my mind is of like Rahula, and then I start working towards it. So I am also having the same problem, how to understand 5 aggregates. I'm not understanding. What should I do? This Atita, Anagata, Pachupanna, blah, blah, all that. I don't know. So I take Sariputta view, that's the best view. So then Buddha, instead of directing him back to the 5 khandas, he explains the 5 khandas using Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Akasha, and making him equanimity with like earth, like water, like fire, like air, like space. First, I need to experience that, which will make me an Sakadagami in that state. Now, when I do the Brahma Vihara, what he's indicated there, I get into Anagami state. And when I do Anapana Sati, Bobby, I am in Arhat. That's it. Just one sutta. Done. What has to be done? All asavas gone.
Thank you, Vilashi. Beautiful explanation. Because there is some notes in that that Maharahula Sutta where that Sariputta's intervention, from some notes by Bhikkhu Sujata. So, your explanation, and it all matches, whatever you told me before. Because of the grossness.
Yes, I'm talking out of my experience. This is exactly what I'd explained to Aryu and Ashutosh and Shreyas when we met in Bodh Gaya. Because that was one sutta, Bobby, which was a reiteration that I am an anagami at that state. I knew I have achieved it. And it was very easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So that was the thing. So I could see, I've reached. It's easy. It's not at all difficult. Brahma Vihara is most easiest for me. And I knew that I've done it. I've exactly done it. And I can verify it as many number of times. The only thing was that getting into Arhat Phala Samapatti. So that was the only pending thing. Now nothing is pending. I can do it wonderfully as many number of times as I want.
Thank you, Vilash.
No problem. Yes, sir, you go ahead.
Small question related to what Bobby was asking. You were explaining that Rahula was gross, so he asked only Rupa. But I thought when I was reading it, I thought Buddha only explained about the Rupa, so Rahula thought it should have included the other ones too. That's why he prompted. Because otherwise, why would he ask? Is it?
You can take it in whichever way you want, Aryu. So you can argue from both sides. If you are attached to Rahula, you would say he prompted, and if I'm attached to Buddha, I will say Rahula was gross.
Yeah, I mean it's his question, right? And he brought up the other four when Buddha has not.
We can consider, like I said, Aryu, it's besides the point. Is that if you are a Sotapanna, you will struggle with aggregates. That's a fact. That's exactly what the state in that is. Otherwise, Buddha need not have to teach him Rahula to this. So we also have to be smart in reading through the lines and nuances there rather than taking it literally. And there's nothing wrong in taking literal, but you will miss out on the nuances there. Right? Like the teacher is testing him out, and the student, what does he say? And the question is, should I do this only? That's the question, if you read it properly. And what does he respond? He responds, this also, this also, this also, this also, and this also. Why does he use also then? If it was just a prompting, why should he use also? Just like if I'm using Copilot and I have coded this portion of my code is testable, and then I say, should I test this one? And then the Copilot says, this also, and this also, and this also, and this also, and this also.
Also, Udasi, like for some interest, it is written there for Aryu that by Sujata that Rahula was admiring his father's beauty. The beauty of Buddha, he was.
Yeah, but still it turns to be gross. Even if I take he was admiring the beauty of Buddha, is still gross.
Yes.
So it answers to it. See, Buddha's uniqueness is how he rebukes the person, how he pinches him. You should see that. And he has a typical way of doing it. In many of the suttas, he does that. You should know how he talks. I've gone through so many suttas. I exactly know what he would say if I were his disciple. And he would have mentioned that. If my mentality matches with that person, I would exactly talk like that person, and this guy will pinch me there. Not assuming, we give it 100% that Buddha was very beautiful to look at and Rahula was admiring the Buddha. He's still gross. That's exactly this Maharahulavada Sutta is for whose mind is gross.
He also stopped from going arms around, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. He sits under a tree, and then that's the time Sariputta takes some compassion towards this idiot and says that, Rahula, why don't you practice Anapanasati? Why? Even if he's enamored by his father's beauty, he is lost into it. Even if you take that. And hence I said what I said, that he's gross. Let's take this way, Bobby. Ajahn Jaisaro is here in Bangalore. There's mad rush of people going to Mahabodhi. I think he's meeting on 29th or whatever date it is. Let's say the entire place is filled with people. They're admiring Ajahn Jaisaro, right? Which is gross. If a Buddha was there, he would have rebuked everyone. What are you staring at him? And then I would have asked, if I am the student there, and I would ask, sir, only Rupa? Because so basically, I need to check. If I'm only checking the Rupa, what am I checking? I'm checking Jaisaro. Atita Anagata Pachuppanna. Ajhatta Bahida. Olarika Sukuma. Hina Panita. Santike Dure. Will I get the feeling tone? No. Will I get the perception tone? No. Will I get the sankharas? No. Will I get the vinyana? No. So if Buddha was standing there, when I'm looking at Jaisaro like this, he would say, what are you staring? Sir, Ajahn Jaisaro. What? What did you say? Can you say it again? Sir, Ajahn Jaisaro. Why are you excited? Nitam Mama. Didn't I tell you? Then I say, yes, sir, sorry. Got it now. Look at the Vedana, where it is. You're enjoying, right? Yes, sir. Why are you enjoying? Sir, Jaisaro. That's Sanya. And then I will ask Buddha, what was the point in I coming to Mahabodhi? You should ask yourself, why are you wasting time here? Get out. Thank you, sir. Go seclude yourself and watch. What are you giggling there? And that's exactly how Buddha would speak in so many suttas. If I'm like Sati, he would blast me. So you need to know how he pricks the person. Exactly, he will prick him. Where he should feel, oh, that's the beauty of Buddha. I love that teacher. I've never seen
Yes,
any teacher parallel to him. No way.
totally agree there. I also have the same opinion. There is no other teacher like that.
But when I read the sutta, I get experience of Buddha. That's the only difference. It's like somebody slapping me on this side, one on this side, one on this side. I feel, okay, boss, I understand. I'm sorry, I understand.
Even that Kajiniya Sutta you're talking about, biting and or how somebody can say that Rupa is biting. So it is, all the words are so precise and make you very serious.
Yes.
Don't waste time.
Don't waste time. So if I book and go to Mahabodhi and watch Ajahn Jayasaro, that means I have still not developed. It's not that I shouldn't go and meet Ajahn Jayasaro. I can meet. But getting enamored by that, not true.
Because all the sajans, a lot more Dhamma discourse, everything is there in the YouTube, right? So going there, just seeing the Rupa, okay, you can pay some respects, but otherwise, no much use.
No much use. But when you see people rushing, they are rushing as though something is happening there, right? And then there's so much of puffing. And when it is puffed up, you forget it's just a rupa. It's just a vedana. It's just a sanya. It's just a sankhara. It's just a vijnana. It becomes upadana. It's dukkha. They have called from 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening. I've got an invite. Ajahn Jayasaro is here. So what should I do with that? Nothing. So what? Just like saying Prime Minister Modi is here. So Donald Trump is here. So all are rupa only, right? Kajaniya. They are ichi. Just leave them alone.
Beautiful.
So just leave them alone and be happy, because your body is exactly same as their body. There's no person like that. Just let it go. Dissolve it. Without sanya, there is no sankhara nor vedana. So enjoy. Okay, should we end then?
Yeah, thank you for explaining so simple and.
Okay, no worries. So tomorrow we'll continue on vijnana. Now that, sankhara and vijnana, these two, and then we'll come to the actual working. Rahula, do this. So we'll start with that. We'll put ourselves as Rahula. Be ready for slap from our great teacher. Okay, good day and good evening and good night. Bye-bye. Bye.